Hey, y'all. Thanks for checking out this Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025 edition here on the Chase Thomas Podcast, a daily Tennessee Vols podcast, Monday through Friday. Each and every weekday, we talk all things Tennessee and then some college football with a pod divided Vols versus Dogs with Matt Green, host of the Georgia Voice of College Football on Mondays and Thursdays each week during the college football season. But today, we got the Tennessee Vols Sports Guys with Ryan Schumpert and Ethan Stone. We talk about Tennessee versus Syracuse, our final thoughts 48 hours removed. We talk about Joey Aguilar's QB grid versus Syracuse, Tennessee football stat of the week, the Vols flipping four-star edge commit Hezekiah Harris from Auburn to Tennessee, now firmly a top 10 class here in 2026, and a whole lot more on today's edition of the Chase Thomas Podcast. If you're watching this video for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube as we continue to grow more and more each and every day on our YouTube channel. So if you have not already done so and you like what you hear today, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button as well, and then leave a comment and let us know what you think of today's episode right here on the show. New episodes every day, every weekday on all things Tennessee right here on the Chase Thomas Podcast. So thank you guys for checking out the show. Make sure you tell a friend, family member, coworker, whoever about the Chase Thomas Podcast if you like what you hear today. And they're also some Vol fans, so that we continue to grow the show a little bit more each and every day. Thank you as always for your continued support. And let's jump into today's episode. Uncle Darren, let's go.
The Chase Thomas Podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me from Rocky Top Insider, fresh off a weekend trip in Atlanta for Dragon Con, and then Tennessee on the side. It's Ryan Schumpert of Rocky Top Insider. Ryan, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's funny. I was at the 2017 Tennessee Georgia Tech game. I had a little football weekend there. We went to Spartanburg on Saturday for Furman Wofford, my brother's senior year, and then went down to Atlanta, I guess, on Sunday for what was a Monday game. So typically when I've been to Atlanta for games, I'm not there very long. But we were staying in downtown Atlanta at Dragon Con, which I wouldn't have been able to tell you what it was. But I mean, it's just a scene. It's a scene for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about. And so I completely kind of forgotten about that. That was 2017. That was 8 years ago. And then leaving the game Saturday afternoon and trying to get back to Interstate 75 in downtown Atlanta, I was reminded of it, and it was a real blast from the past.
I heard people were in a lot of traffic going on Friday, and that it was not an easy deal getting to Atlanta.
Can't confirm that reporting. As I was driving the RTI gang down there.
Oh, was it when you say the RTI gang? How many people were packed in the car with you?
Just the three of us. Sylvia, Rick, and myself.
Okay. Yeah. And you were driving the whole way?
Yeah.
Are you a left lane driver or a right lane, like go the speed limit? I feel like you're a speed limit right lane guy.
I would definitely say I am if I'm just driving around Knoxville. Trips, I'll be a little bit more aggressive, try to make up time. But I'm usually trying to be more cognizant of it, being like in the right lane, passing the left lane. If there's no one behind me, maybe hum along for a little bit. I try to, which I'm probably worse when there's other people in the car and I'm talking and stuff, but I try to be locked in and cognizant on that stuff.
Yeah, I'm it drives my wife crazy. My wife's an aggressive driver. She's a fast driver. And I'm over here listening to my jazz or podcast in the right lane. And I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah, it's like when you're driving around Knoxville, it's like, oh, I'm going to go 15 miles. I'm going to go 10, 15 over the speed limit and get there 2 minutes faster at most. If I'm like, it's a long drive in Knoxville.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't really care that much. But on trips when you can make up some time, I try to be a little bit more aggressive.
Ethan's got to be careful. Ethan's flying around in his Andy Griffith mobile, which I very much love. And Ryan, you haven't seen what Ethan's rocking these days, and it's unbelievable. It's my dad and everybody would be proud, but Ethan is out here. It's great. It's a classic, and do you mind if we even talk about this, Ethan Stone?
Yeah, Down South? It's not mine, but yeah, I don't care. It's awesome. It's pretty sweet. I actually had to give it back today because my car finally got out of the shop. I was there for like a month. It took them forever to fix that thing, but they finally did. So I
not a sponsor, probably
relinquished the truck to my dad.
Well, there you go. He has Schumpert. He has he did have like a 50s Ford truck, and it was long. Like that bad boy, the back, it was long. You could fit like an outdoor pool in the back of that thing, and you swing the wrong way, taking a left. Like this, I just felt like Ethan's going a little bit too fast. He makes a quick left, like that whole thing's just going to start rolling, and Ethan's going to lose it. I don't know. Yeah, it was. It's a big deal, man. That thing, it's a party in the front and all heavy duty in the back because like it's an interesting thing. But they used to build cars to last, man. We used to make things in this country, Ryan Schumpert.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised. Honestly, it's got some get up and go to it. Like
I'm not surprised at all. That thing's a tank.
When I would drive like to radio with you on Thursdays, Chase, I would be in the left lane. Like it's fast enough to be there. And then, if someone comes up behind me, I'd get over. Wow. But like I'd chill in the left lane going solid 75, 80 miles an hour, and then I don't know. I want to throw my hat into the ring as well. I'm very similar to Ryan on that front. I like to sit in the left lane, but if anybody's behind me, I'm like, all right, I'm getting over. It's not worth it, and I'm not supposed to be here anyway. But I prefer being on that side because I like to drive a little faster than most people anyway. So.
Ethan, and I promise, folks, we'll get in Tennessee, Syracuse. But Ethan, the first, I think, week he had the car, Ryan, he was in front of me when we were leaving, and Ethan thought he had it to take a left to get on the highway, didn't have it, and his car was so big and he had to back up. It could have been a full Chase Thomas moment. He'd be like, I don't know what to tell you, man. You're out in the intersection. This is an Ethan Stone problem. I'm not backing up. You thought you had it, man. You thought you could go.
I remember exactly what you're talking about. I absolutely thought I had it. And the only reason I didn't have it is because I specifically remember it was a Honda Fit. And it was going about 400 miles over the speed limit. And I was like, I guess I can't go because this guy's going to hit me in my not truck and not my truck. And it's, I can't risk that. So I was like.
And his car is hilarious, Ryan, because he has to turn around. You can see everything. Like Ethan, it's all open. And you just see Ethan turn around in shame. As he turned around, he's like, hey, I need you to back up.
That's fantastic.
But fun times. I'm sad that we won't see it anymore, but also glad you got your car back, which is also good. Well, there was a game in Atlanta this weekend outside of the Dragon Con experience, which I would like to know what Ryan Schumpert dressed up as in the press box. You and Grant Ramey and everybody should have dressed up for Dragon Con for the game. Y'all do it for Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. You should have done it for Dragon Con. We all know what Grant Ramey would have been. Darth Vader, no question. Like, just that's an easy transition for him, but with the all black look. But I don't know what Shump would be in Dragon Con. It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Would you wear a bald cap and be Larry David? You could do a curb.
Yeah, I guess I could do that. That would be a pretty good bald cap to have kind of the hair on the scrap on the sides and back too, have the cul-de-sac look. But yeah, I could do that.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised you've never been Larry David for Halloween, have you?
No, I haven't been anything for Halloween in many, many years.
Same.
I was Lee Corso twice growing up. Shout out the GOAT.
Interesting.
That's amazing.
I haven't been anything. If I'm 34, it's been a long, long time. It's been a decade plus for me, for sure. Biggest takeaway, Ryan Schumpert, from the Vols win over Syracuse on Saturday was what, sir?
To me, it was the fact that Tennessee's offense looked different. If we can go back in time to December or January on this very program, and really, we were talking about what we wanted to see from Tennessee in the offseason, and one of those things was pretty you could look at and you're going to be able to know pretty quickly, which was Tennessee being aggressive into trying to go get receivers in the transfer portal. They didn't do that. And two is we wanted to see Josh Heupel make adjustments. His offense had struggled the previous 2 years, at least by his high standards in his career. The explosive plays that were gone. It felt like some defenses at least had an answer to what Tennessee was doing, and it was like, I want to see Tennessee do stuff differently. And I think some people, and I think maybe you even said this at times, Chase, that it's like, all right, Joey Halsley needs to go, or that they need to make changes to the staff. And to me, it was like, not really, because this is Josh Heupel's offense. This is his show. It doesn't matter who they bring. I would like some fresh blood for new ideas, but that doesn't mean that the offense coordinator has to be changed, because this is Josh Heupel's offense. It doesn't really matter who the offense coordinator is from that perspective. And Nico leaving in the spring upended the entire conversation around Tennessee and this offseason entering the season. But I wrote about it going into the game last week that sneakily I wanted to see what it looked like. We had seen some small changes in practice. They'd run some stuff out of the pistol. They had worked with tighter splits. They'd run more shallow crossers and routes we had not seen them run before during routes on air. But, I was a little skeptical of what we were actually going to see in the games. And not that it was just completely different, but it didn't look the same. It was not. There were wide splits at times, but it wasn't every play. It wasn't every drive. I'd be curious to go. I don't think it was 50% of the time even that Tennessee was playing the super wide splits like they have in the past. So, we saw trips. We saw 12 personnel with 2 receivers on one side. We saw 12 personnel with some, interesting stuff kind of as an H tight ends playing H-back more than tight end itself. The offense looked different, and I think past what just happened on Saturday, past what is going to happen the rest of the season, I think that was really interesting and a good sign, too, of Josh Heupel continuing to adapt and adjust things.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the wrinkles were fun. I think the fact that the middle of the field was back open for business was fun. I think Mike flashed in a little bit his first step, because Mike and Boo have the first step wiggle twitchiness that no one else in this team has. And that I think if Mike can find some consistency and get more targets, even one of the things I said all summer that I did not think was going to happen. And this is like, look, I've been wrong on some stuff. Don't talk to me about Ty Simpson, Alabama right now. But when it comes to the tight end stuff and Tennessee's going to live in 12 personnel and run the football, and I was just like, that's just not how Heupel is. Like, Heupel is going to have to fail at the other thing first. Like, he's going to have to fail at the new wrinkles and the pistol stuff and taking shots down the field that aren't there, or Aguilar's throwing picks over the middle, or things aren't working well. Like, he wants tempo. Like, what we saw on Saturday is closer to what I feel like Heupel and his staff will always prefer on offense. And the big loser from that, I just feel like, is Tim Banks, because I think Tennessee's defense is going to be back on the field for a whole lot more possessions than they've been in the last 2 years, because I think tempo's back. And when you have more possessions and Tennessee scoring drives going 2 minutes or less, that means the possessions are back up. And that's not great for Tennessee right now, because they're banged up in a major way on defense. And I wonder how Heupel and company balance that. But to me, I was surprised that Tennessee took the deep shots, that Tennessee was going after Syracuse early. Miles Kitselman was the only tight end with a catch, like, I think midway through the third quarter in this game. So they did not
catch in the game period, I believe.
Oh yeah, I guess so. But he had another one with touchdown reception.
But yeah.
So either way, like, I just was not surprised that because you have that in your back pocket, right? Like, you can go back to Ethan Davis and Dasson Brame had like 5 snaps in this game. So you can go back to those guys if you need to. The best version of Tennessee is the passing game with the receivers. Like, it's downfield shots. It's doing that stuff in tempo. And I think we saw closer to what the best version of Tennessee's offense is since 2022, right?
And I would also add, I'd say the best version of Tennessee is just balance. That's the word I'd use. And it was very balanced. If I remember correctly, I think there was the same number, maybe one less carry than there were passing attempts on the day. And by the way, I was very impressed with all 3 running backs that saw the field, especially Star Thomas and Deshaun Bishop. But like you say, that's a big part of it. And I think another thing that's kind of flying a little under the radar here is it's obvious that Heupel is adjusting his offense to the strengths of his quarterback. I feel like last year especially is a perfect example of that. It was pretty quick throws. It was a lot of stuff at the boundary with Nico, who, I'm sure a lot of Tennessee fans watched that on Saturday night. He had an interesting outing. He still can't really read through progressions, and I feel like that's why last year's offense was kind of set up the way it was. And Joey, obviously coming over from App State, and having experience 4 years in college football, he was reading through those progressions. So it makes sense that, they could go a little more up tempo. He trusts him more with his veteran experience to be able to lead the offense. And obviously the offensive line made everything incredibly easy, because they were, they were standouts, all of them. It was way better than I was expecting it to be. So just a lot of positives, I feel like, just about everywhere, really on offense. You mentioned that the tight ends didn't get involved too much in the passing game. And also, you kind of realize that, Ethan Davis, I believe a couple of us said it a couple times during, like in our chat, that Ethan Davis was kind of struggling. When you look back on it, he was a fantastic run blocker. At least that's what I saw. He was really helping out in that regard. So I feel like Tennessee and different players are really finding roles on this team, and there's a lot to be excited about for sure. It's just Syracuse. We still haven't gotten into SEC play, but I like the early signs of it, I guess.
And Ryan, you've been on this forever. Was just that like why you weren't so big on the tight end stuff, anyways? Like you're just like Tennessee's never really featured tight end. Like that was a new feature last year. Like that's not the staple of Heupel's offense. Like yeah, it's great that they're stacking guys, but that is not the Heupel efficient, high scoring top 10 offense. Is when they're featuring the tight ends a bunch.
Yeah, I mean it's just kind of a see it to believe it on them throwing it to them. But like the one thing I'll push back on some of the stuff you're saying, Chase, is they still ran 12 personnel like 50% of the time in this game.
Yeah.
Now they split out Ethan Davis, something you'd been begging him to do last year. They split out Ethan Davis in the slot as a slot receiver or some stacks out wide. And it didn't, when Tennessee ran 12 personnel last year, the formation basically looked the same every single time.
Yeah.
Like, there were a lot of different wrinkles and a lot of different looks to that 12 personnel. But they still leaned heavy on that. And that's something I'll say is too. I think one of the winners to me of the game, stock up guys, is Braylon Staley. I don't think many were talking about him as the top guy. And look, everyone will point to the long touchdown, which obviously Chase, you've been on that for a while, of him being a potential good deep threat for this Tennessee offense. But I thought he did some good things in the intermediate, did some good things in the screen game, ran block well. And I think more than anything, what stands out to me is in some of that 12 personnel, Braylon Staley, who is just a slot guy. And we talk about maybe Mike Matthews having to slide in and play some slot at times. It was Braylon Staley out wide in some of this 12 personnel stuff. He was a guy that they trusted, as much as anybody. So he was a big winner and a guy that I thought had a really good day outside of just a long touchdown and kind of in the multitude of ways Tennessee used him.
Yeah, Braylon Staley stock through the roof. Selling Chris Brazzell stock, but it's still just like somewhere in the middle where, he dropped the touchdown. He had some bad drops in this game.
Was that a touchdown?
Oh, he would have been gone. He should have been gone in that scenario.
He was going to have to make a guy miss, and then he would have been gone.
Yeah. Brazzell is just, I want, I guess, Javonte Payton-ish. Like or Ramel Keaton in 22, maybe. Give me some of that, or just have a couple big-time catches for Tennessee and just be solid, like not a featured guy, but just be solid. Mike's the one I'm worried about because, the chemistry was not great between Aguilar and Mike in this game. They have time to get that right, and hopefully he gets a lot of balls thrown his way from Aguilar against ETSU on Saturday. But yeah, Braylon Staley is the big winner out of week 1 here in terms of receivers of like who's going to break out, and like it. Braylon Staley looks like the dude in a lot of ways, so that's exciting for Tennessee as well. Ethan, how would you rate Joey Aguilar's performance as a whole for Tennessee in this game?
I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10, honestly, maybe 7.5 out of 10. I didn't think he was perfect by any means. I think he's got to work on the accuracy issues, especially kind of shorter throws. And you can chalk that up to, I don't know if I want to call it nerves, but, just first game jitters. First game being with obviously Tennessee system and real action. But, that's a bit of a minor concern when you're hitting deep balls in stride. First time, I've seen it since 2022, really, in this offense. Nico and Joe Milton probably did it at some point, but that was the prettiest throw I've seen in a Heupel offense since Hendon Hooker. It was perfect. You could not have thrown that football better. I thought he commanded the offense well. I think he read through his progressions very well. I think he hit most of the shots downfield, especially as the game went on. It felt like he kind of, sat into his role a little bit better. And, like you said, I feel like at the beginning, and he kind of struggled a little bit more. The first drive, he had a little bit of accuracy issues, but ultimately still led the team down the field, got a field goal. I think after the fumble, he had a lot of reason to not fall apart, but, just kind of falter a little bit, and he didn't. Tennessee just kept going. And the offense looked really impressive, and it's just week 1. So I think there's a lot of ways to go up here. I think you fix some of the accuracy issues, and you're looking pretty good. I think it was impressive how well, except for that one fumble, that he protected the football as well. I don't really think any throws, except for maybe the underthrow on the first or second drive, were particularly in danger of being picked off. I'd have to watch again to make absolutely sure of that. But it seemed to me that most of his ball placement was in a good place. And I don't know, there's a lot to like, obviously. And I mean, on top of that, I believe he was 16 of 28, but he had 3 or 4 drops in there. I feel like most of them were Matthews and Brazel. So I feel like that'll get fixed as the season goes along. But yeah, like I said, a lot to like, a lot to build on. But it's hard not to be excited, I feel like, after watching that, because honestly, he was a little better than even I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be a touch worse than that. But but before I end here, something I feel like that really stood out that I was just not expecting at all is when Tennessee got into the red zone and he was able to kind of scramble outside of the pocket a little bit. I didn't see any of that creativity at App State, and I thought that was very nice, that connection with Star Thomas in general. And the one that got called back was an excellent throw as well when he had to kind of get flushed out of the pocket a little bit as well. So a lot to like, a lot to build on. I think it's going to be a fun season.
It's kind of wild, Ryan, that I said this on the radio show today, that Heupel's 2 best quarterbacks, it looks like, are the 2 guys at Heupel that were like the afterthoughts of the Heupel era, where Joe Milton and Nico were Heupel targets and Heupel guys, and the 2 that have actually looked like they're going to pan out and be the best of the Heupel era are the 2 afterthoughts, one of which was a holdover from the previous staff, and the other was just we just need a veteran body. And it looks like those are the 2 best fits in the Heupel scheme. Just wild.
Yeah, for sure. It seems, and I think some of this is probably tough to evaluate high school quarterbacks, because I was thinking about this earlier today too, actually. But it's just, I think, just processing things and cognitively, Hooker and Aguilar have been much better than Milton and Iamaliava. And like how much, you don't see that when they're throwing at these camps. You don't see that when they come and throw on campus for the most part. You can probably sit in a meeting and get a little bit of that. And even high school, like, you do see that more in high school, but it's oftentimes a lot simpler when you're playing high school football, especially depending on the league that you're playing in. So, yeah, no, it is interesting. He looked good. I think he looked about as realistically as good as you could want him to. Clearly has something he needs to clean up on the throws to the sidelines, with just kind of selling some of those, especially in the screen game. Like, you're just not giving your guys a chance to do anything after the catch. But I mean, Ethan said it very much. I mean, just watching UNC be a disaster. Sorry to ruin my train of thought. But the stuff he did throwing in the intermediate, I thought I was impressed by. He was much better doing that. I thought Ethan was right on some of the creativity stuff down in the red zone. I thought he had a good internal clock. Obviously, that looks a lot easier when your offensive line's giving you a lot of time to throw. We'll see just how good Tennessee's offensive line is in a few weeks when they host Georgia, but certainly a lot more to like than not from Aguilar in his Tennessee debut.
Yeah, I think I'm with Ethan at 8 out of 10. I think he left some stuff. The high stuff was a problem. And I think some of the stuff over the middle, there was a pick 6 that was dropped by Syracuse in this game where it was deflected line of scrimmage, but Syracuse read that play, the safety back there. Did you see him in the red zone? Tennessee was in there. The safety grabbed his helmet and everything else. He read Aguilar's eyes the whole way, and that's where Aguilar was going with the ball. And if he throws it right there, that guy's housing a pick 6, just going the other way. But I also just think that's just kind of who he is. Aguilar is going to miss high every game. He's going to have some easy stuff that he's just going to miss the gimmies, where you're like, how do you miss Mike Matthews there? Or what? But then he's going to have the throws to Braylon, where he's extremely accurate on deep balls. He's going to take those chances, and you're just going to have to live with it. He's 24. That stuff's not getting cleaned up at this point. He is who he is, but he's super calm, and composure is great. That's something I really liked, is he's not really razzled at all. It kind of reminded me of Hendon after that fumble he had with Star Thomas, or when Hendon had that same situation happen against Alabama in the red zone or inside Tennessee's 20-yard line. He just went right back out there and responded with a touchdown drive. And he just was not phased. And that's where I think they're most alike. I think Hendon Hooker, obviously, so much more efficient. The 70% completion percentage, doesn't throw the ball in harm's way. A lot better inside structure. But I do think they're wired mentally in similar ways, where I think Aguilar just wipes his brain. He does not get too high, too low. And I think Nico and Joe struggle with that in a way that I don't think Aguilar is wired like that. I think Aguilar has that quiet, calm composure that Hendon has. And if you're a Tennessee fan, you have to be very excited. And I'll be the first one to say, I, through 1 week, was wrong about where Aguilar was going to be with this offense. And I think he's going to be good, man. I will say it was bizarre. They were calling running plays for him when he was banged up. That was really bizarre, where you did not need to do that in that game, where Tennessee got very fortunate that Aguilar did not take a big hit in that spot. But then I don't know. It's just kind of weird. I don't know why we're doing that, and especially across the sport. Like a lot of quarterbacks are running this season, which makes me think
it was a generational weekend for white running quarterbacks.
Yeah, and it's not sustainable. Like Jackson Arnold carrying the ball 20 times, Haynes King 20 times, Pavia 20 times. Like you go up and down the list, you're like, this is not. None of these guys are gonna be able to handle Power 4 schedule running the ball like this. Like these teams have to eventually trust their quarterbacks to throw the ball through the air, or we're gonna have all kinds of different quarterbacks getting snaps this season for their team. So I don't know. Tennessee does have to clean that up and protect it a little bit.
Just one last thing I'll say.
That's what I'd say. Keep going, Ryan.
Yeah, one last thing I was just saying, Aguilar. I mean, I think the good thing under the high throws seemed all over the sideline to me.
True.
I didn't really see any over the middle. That takes a lot of danger out of the way. And then on those, his receivers can help him out too. A bunch of them still hit his receivers in the hands and weren't easy catches because they weren't great throws. But yeah, you would like to see some of those guys step up and make at least a higher percentage of those plays.
Ryan, game ball goes to which unit, player, or coach for you?
Yeah, I think I'll say the offensive line is. I'll give the game ball to. I mean, I think they were the best unit on the field for Tennessee, and the deck was shuffled. Basically, I'm sure they had an idea that there was a chance David Sanders was going to miss the game. It sounded like it happened on Wednesday in practice, and also the way Josh Heupel talked about it made it sound like they thought he was going to be able to go. And it wasn't like it was just one of those things where, all right, he goes out, you plug somebody else in at right tackle. They performed well. Every single person besides Lance Hurd and Sam Pendleton changed what position they were going to be playing because of it. So it affected everybody, not just, one spot. And time will tell. I don't think anybody expected Syracuse's defensive line to be great. And that might be a terrible unit, and this could be a little bit misleading. But there was reason to be optimistic about that group going into the season. I think I was at least cautiously optimistic that they could be pretty darn good, and they were dominant in that game. I mean, Aguilar was rarely pressured. When he was, it was not super quick, and then Tennessee ran the ball the way Tennessee runs the ball. So there was, I thought, a lot to like about that group, and you throw it in with some of the adversity they had kind of going into the game with the Sanders injury. I would give it to them.
Yeah, I would go O-line too. What about you, Ethan?
I think that's a safe pick. I mean, I would agree with Ryan that it probably made Aguilar look even better than perhaps the day that he would have had. He wasn't sacked once. I'm not even sure he was hurried once. I mean, his pocket was perfect the entire afternoon. And, I'll just go ahead and say it's not going to be like that in SEC play, no matter how well the offensive line plays. And yet still you have to be very impressed by it. So I'd say offensive line, the cornerback unit. I feel like given the circumstances with Gibson going out early in the game, I think they've played fantastic. Ty Redmond and Colton Hood both had fantastic outings. I think McMurray and Boo Carter had probably games that you'd like to see get a little better and improve upon as the season goes on. But as far as the two corners, man, I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah, I think the secondary as a whole graded out very well. Top three players was Ty Redmond, Jalen McMurray, and
Colton
Hood. Yeah, so they're gonna have to be.
Elite, absolutely elite.
That's
celebration.
Elite celebration.
Elite.
That's for the good folks over there on youtube.com/Chase Thomas Podcast. As Ryan does the celebration there. But yeah, I think secondary O-line, secondary is going to have to be a big part of this. And I mean, now with Ricky Gibson out for Heupel to say extended.
Yeah.
Extended is like, I don't know.
6 to 8 weeks in my mind. That's what I read. And I don't like that at all. I might be wrong, but like when you say extended amount of time, I assume.
And Heupel specifically saying extended like, oh, we've already may have seen the last of Ricky Gibson. Is this a Keenan Peele situation where he's gone and we're just not saying it yet? Like that was my read on that. It's just like, this is, I don't think we're seeing Ricky back anytime soon. Jackson Moy seems like it'll be a surprise if he's not back in the Georgia game. It seems
I would disagree with that.
Really? I got a better feel from him on that one. I don't know. That felt more positive.
Better feel for sure. But let's say
if they don't have David Hobbs and Jackson Moy in the interior for the Georgia game, Georgia's going to run for 400 yards.
I'd say I feel better about him being back from Mississippi State, but I would not say I feel good about.
I mean, because Nathan Robinson, who is a great player, like Nathan was great in that game. Obviously, the forced fumble and just was great. He got hurt twice. So if he gets hurt again in the Georgia game, and then you're down to true freshman, I mean, Georgia is just going to run 5 different running backs, 500 yards right up the middle. Like, that's not a great time to be really thin in the interior defensively with Georgia coming down in 2 weeks, because Georgia's running game looked really strong on Saturday. That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem.
I'll have to see it to believe it with Georgia, just because they struggled a little bit last. I mean, I'm sure they'll be good, but it's Marshall. I agree. Yeah. I can't take too much of it.
I mean, I'm sure to your point, if Tennessee is out these guys in the defense line, I'm sure Georgia will be able to run the ball well. I'm just not. I'm not here to crown the Georgia running game because they ran against the ball well against the Thundering Herd.
That's fair. Ethan, the most impressive stat coming out of this game for UT was what for you?
Yeah, I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but it's 10 pass deflections, which was the most in the SEC. The most in the SEC per attempt, tied with Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma, I don't know. I don't even remember who they played. Maybe Illinois State. They had 20 attempts and they had 5 pass deflections. Syracuse had 40 attempts and Tennessee had 10 pass deflections. So every 4 throws, there was a deflection. And that, I think, is made even more impressive with the fact that Gibson only played 19 snaps. And I mean, I've been raving about Colton Hood all offseason. I personally knew he was going to be good. I did not know Ty Redmond was going to be as good as he was. The secondary coach, Martinez, has been, I feel like, raving about him just in general this offseason. I didn't know he was going to translate that well. And, I think Syracuse's passing game was fine. I'm not ready to say that they're going to be, one of the better units in the country or anything like that. But I thought Cook and Ross Simmons were both decent tests for, obviously, 2 new guys in the system, and they passed with flying colors. And obviously McMurray and Farouk and Turrentine had a little bit to do with that as well. But like I said, just the corners in general, I feel like were fantastic. I think Hood had 3 of those deflections by himself, and obviously he housed the fumble return. He had a fantastic game. I'd give him the MVP myself. I think Hood was fantastic. He won SEC Defensive Player of the Week for it. So a lot to like from that. And, I think it's a major boon that having those guys with Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson out. You would not have expected it. At least I wouldn't have.
No, Colton Hood having the personality does is also great. Like, I just think every elite corner has to have Colton Hood's personality. Like, that's something where I'm still, like, Ryan, you and I talk about the wide receiver personality. Colton Hood has the elite cornerback personality, and it's extremely important. Kamal, when he found his groove, Kamal had the personality of a great corner, and now he's in the NFL. And I just feel like Colton Hood has a great, great corner personality. Lockdown, peak Josh Norman, where you're just like, I don't know what the longevity of this is, but I do know Colton Hood is fearless and backs it up with his play. And I mean, he was electric, man. Like, Colton Hood was physical. He was strong. I think Syracuse got frustrated with him being really aggressive on the perimeter, but man, that guy, they're not going to call it every time, and Colton Hood takes advantage, and it's great. Like, Colton Hood is a fantastic cornerback, and I think is just a sneaky, gigantic spring portal ad, because now you're without Gibson.
I don't think it's sneaky anymore.
Well, I think not anymore, yeah. But at the time, you were like, oh, well, maybe he'll factor. I will say, Boo Carter, the experiment of him just getting 2 snaps is done. With Ricky Gibson, like, Boo Carter is
2
playing.
Snaps? What are you talking about?
2 series, excuse me.
That's not even true.
I'm talking about in the first half. He only played 2 series in the first half.
I'm saying we just be talking about the first half.
Hold on.
This is really the Ricky Gibson stuff's upsetting for this, because what you're gonna say is right. So go ahead.
It's 100%. Like, Boo Carter has to play 60 snaps, start at star at ETSU. He's got to get the rest off so that he's ready for Georgia the week after. Boo not playing special teams was insane on Saturday. Like, absolutely insane. It didn't matter, but you had Dwan Morris calling fair catch like 10 yard nobody within 10 yards of him in that game, where, like, Boo could have done something with that. Like, what are we doing here? Braylon Staley back there, like, he's maybe your best receiver. Why is he returning punts right now? And they threw him out there. Just absolutely insane. You're going to play Boo Carter some snaps, but you're not going to let him return punts. He's your only elite punt returner. What are we doing here? If he's playing, he should be starting. Like, Boo Carter not returning punts was insane to me, which is a shock to no one who subscribes and listens to this podcast each and every day. But Boo has to play star, and now you have to slide McMurray down, and because you're not going Ty Redmond here. Like, he was great in this opener, but he's a true freshman. You cannot prepare him for Georgia. He needs to be CB3. It needs to be Colton Hood, Jalen McMurray, Ty's the third corner here without Ricky Gibson for a little bit. But That the whole like boo punishment stuff done. Like, sorry, you're too injured now. Boo starting at star. You're moving McMurray down. This is done. I'm making the executive decision as the Tennessee Sports Renaissance man. This is done. Motion denied. We're moving forward against ETSU.
All right. Well, let me start by talking about how utterly ridiculous your talk about Boo Carter all offseason's been. This thought that Tennessee, that Jalen McMurray is just so much worse than Boo Carter.
I didn't say that. Hold on. No. Don't put that. I said he's been a top 100 corner all PFF. I'm saying it is a downgrade. I'm saying Boo Carter is one of your 5 best players. Like, that's still true.
If Boo Carter would have put to work, he's one of the 5 most talented players on the team.
Yeah.
And if Boo Carter had Jalen Hyatt 2022 offseason put into work in the jugs machine, getting extra works in, and he probably would have been. The guy no-showed for half the summer. And you just act like he's just naturally on its God-given talent because he was a pretty good freshman in the SEC, was going to be one of the best players on the team. And that was just not a given. And
not a given. I just would bet on it.
Maybe he will develop into that. Jalen McMurray was better at start than Boo Carter was on Saturday. And that's just a fact. I mean, Boo Carter missed a tackle that nobody else on Tennessee's roster would have missed on Saturday.
He also didn't play a bunch. Like, he had the sack, but how much does he miss that if he's getting consistent reps and it's just fully locked in the game? Like, Boo Carter was thrown. I mean, he was not.
You're right. Josh Heupel should play Boo Carter more to get him more locked in. That's how this should work. Boo Carter should be locked in himself, Chase. He should be locked in himself. He should be more than locked in. He no-showed the month of July. He should be locked in. If he wants to play, he should be locked in.
Well, the point is, games are happening.
Well, let me get to that. Unfortunately, to your point, he does need to play now because of the Ricky Gibson situation. I don't think I wouldn't go quite as far as you did. Like, I think I would be fine with him starting Ty Redmond. I don't think they need to play Ty Redmond every snap of the game, and Jalen McMurray needs to be the other guy there. But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with Jalen McMurray playing, 20 snaps at star and then 30 or whatever, 30 or 40 at corner.
I wonder if you slide Caleb Beasley down.
Yeah, I would think that would be a possibility. Is him at the star spot, working at the star spot some too.
Like, I think I think Idris Farouk kind of settled that. Like, Farouk looks like the long-term answer at safety next to Turrentine. So if you think you've got something there, I think you might want to, with where you're at depth-wise, maybe consider moving Caleb Beasley around.
Yeah, maybe, but you don't have any depth at safety either. Like,
true.
Like,
but you don't rotate historically. Like, Banks, if you can get away with not rotating Farouk and Turrentine and be okay, then that's fine.
Yeah, and you probably would be okay. Yeah, I don't know that you have to make that move, but I mean, it's probably a decent thought.
Ethan, most interesting post-game quote from Tennessee side was what?
Honestly, I didn't think there were too many of them. I think probably the one that stood out to me most was early in the conference. It was when someone just asked about how Joey Aguilar played in his start. I think it was interesting. The first thing he said he is who he was on the practice field and that he was even killed and composed. The past 2 years we have heard that about Joe Milton and about Nico Iamaleava, and neither of them translated it to the field. He says it about Joey, and he actually translates it to the field. I think that's probably the most interesting thing he said. Honestly, like we've said it on this podcast before. I think Heupel is pretty milquetoast and pretty coach speak with that when it comes to post game stuff like that. So there's not too much really to take from it, but I think the fact that Aguilar is actually showing what he is showing in practice and that he's not changing, it speaks more to what you said a little bit earlier, Chase, that like he is who he is. He's very confident in himself. Obviously, he's very confident in his abilities as a quarterback, and it showed. He leads the offense with composure, and I think obviously that's a major development for the team. That there's a higher ceiling on this offense now. I feel like with him playing the way he has. And it's really just a matter of or a matter of can it stack up to the tougher competition that's coming.
I think it's fair. What about you, Ryan? Any other quotes that stood out to you?
Not a ton. I mean, he had I thought a more drawn out quote about kind of liking the team and their maturity that I thought was interesting, not shocking. Yeah, and I think it's kind of what you said earlier, Chase. Colton Hood, his personality was funny. It coming through. Joey Aguilar calling the power T to big T was also funny. Joey Aguilar dropping some rat poison lines. So there wasn't anything groundbreaking or anything like that, but some of the
What was
player
the
interviews were
acronym
pretty
they
good.
unleashed?
I think it's FEB.
What is FEB?
I don't think you want me to say it on the Chase Thomas podcast.
I didn't know if there was a word we'd have to censor in that, but I okay.
Yeah. I'm not 1,000% sure what it is.
I'm not allowed to.
I think there's multiple words you would have to censor.
Khaleesi knows. Khaleesi, this is fantastic stuff. We've gotten like Colton Hood's personality has jumped into Khaleesi here. She's ready to play. She's got her tennis ball like mid podcast. She's never this fired up late on a Monday night Tennessee Vols Sports Guy pod, but Khaleesi, the dog, is excited throwing tennis ball at me. So you never know what's going to happen during these recordings right here on the Chase Thomas podcast. So couple other quick things before we wrap up here tonight. Ryan, the Vols personnel department deserves major kudos, in your opinion, for this transfer portal haul based on this first game. And this includes the spring portal and winter portal window for Tennessee.
Yeah, for sure. I think you'd say that's 2 years in a row now that they've done really good in the corner or in the portal. I will specifically say whoever in the world is scouting cornerbacks in the portal is doing an unbelievable job. And look, we'll see what the rest of the season has to hold, but I have a hard time taking Tennessee hasn't gotten the best cornerback out of the portal each of the last 2 years with Jermon McCoy and now Colton Hood. So for sure, I think you give a lot of credit to the plan at offensive line. And again, this will be more flushed out, but I thought Sam Pendleton has proven to be a great pickup with the fact that he can play center, he can play guard. He was kind of a I don't know, backup plan's the right word, but a break glass in case of emergency type situation at center, and he's proven to be good there, as some of the guys haven't panned out the way Tennessee had hoped. And then I think we all knew Wendell Moe. He was an all Big 12 or all Pac-12, I guess, 2 years ago at Arizona, offensive lineman. I think we all knew he was going to be a really good player, but and Star Thomas was another good one. So they don't take a ton, but their hit rate has been pretty high traditionally.
Big hit rate. Corner is 100% right. Like the Tennessee know what they're looking for. They know how to handle it. And they also know how to evaluate. Like Ty Rebin's a great eval at the high school level from Milton and looks like a plug and play true freshman and good eval there. And we'll see on Trey Poteet and a couple others. But Ethan, the personnel department, I think Sam Pendleton is the hidden story, is that we were wondering like, oh, Satterwhite didn't win it. It's like, are we sure Pendleton can handle center? You didn't notice one bad snap issue. Like Pendleton was just fine being Tennessee's new starting center.
Yeah, I think that's I think offensive line in general, you don't want to hear their names. If you don't hear their names, they're probably doing a pretty good job. There weren't many penalties. Like I said earlier, Aguilar had a clean pocket pretty much the entire time. Tennessee rushed for, 248 yards on 6.4 yards per attempt. So, you can't add, and, like Ryan said earlier, have no idea if Syracuse's defensive line is good. Probably not. It'll get tougher as you face Georgias and the Floridas of the world. But you can't ask for them to do any better than what they did to start, and you can't really ask for anything better from Pendleton either. Honestly, I thought the entire line was. I didn't notice anybody of the five that I was like, ooh, that is like a major issue as of right now. And it might be competition, like I said, but it's hard not to be excited about it.
Yeah, 100%. And I just think the offensive line is going to be really good. Like Jess Perry is going to be a plug and play wherever you need him. David Sanders didn't play. Lance Hurd's going to have a great year. Moy is fantastic. The offensive line is going to be really good. And that's going to really help Joey Aguilar in bigger games. I think if the offensive line can hold up, it's going to make things a whole lot easier for him and give him time to help out the receivers and everything else. Final thing here. Ethan, instant reaction to Hezekiah Harris flipping to Tennessee this afternoon.
Yeah, obviously, right after Tristan Keys, that's two top 150 players in the class and in the past week and a half. The
you throw three in there with Kamari Blair too.
Yeah, the ending to Heupel's class, it's just been insane. I remember, 2 months ago, there were some people legitimately pressing the panic button about it, and it's just gotten better and better and better and better. I believe right now in 247, Tennessee's sitting at the number 6 class in the country, which, that's about as good as it gets when you have especially the number 1 and number 4 overall player in that as well. I'm not going to act like I know everything about Harris. Obviously, he was an Auburn commit. So, to me, obviously, I think it was like a week ago that there were some kind of rumblings that he might be thinking about a flip. But, before that, I just didn't really know that much about him. But I do know that Tennessee didn't really have that committed in the top. The Vols needed an edge rusher, a pass rusher to kind of solidify what is, you got top quarterback, top receiver, top offensive lineman, 5-star guy, Moa, Wyatt, Rouse, obviously at linebacker. So, a lot to like there, and adding that cornerstone, I feel like is going to be pretty massive. It's just, will they hit when it gets down to it? I will say this as well. A fantastic name. Hezekiah Harris is a fantastic pass rusher name. You can just hear it. You can hear it already. With the sack, it's amazing name. I like it.
One of the reasons we're selling Caleb Herring stock after this weekend. It's just Caleb Herring's. That's a linebacker name. That's not or a tight end. It's not a Leo. Not a Leo name.
I don't really think a Joshua Joseph says one either, but he had a pretty good game.
He's not a great. He's great. He's an all-purpose guy. Like Joshua Joseph is Tennessee's best defensive lineman. He was fantastic on Saturday, but he's not an elite pass rusher. He's not an elite. Like he's just really, really good. Like Joshua Joseph's really good. He's an NFL player. Like Joshua Joseph's is just not a first-round talent. First or second-round guy. But he's a really good player. Like I love watching Joshua Joseph work.
The move Joseph's had on, I think, the right tackle where he stripped the ball and then the guy just like made the craziest catch I've ever seen in my entire life, and Syracuse retained possession. I mean, that was, I think the announcer actually said it, but that's an NFL move. That was incredibly impressive.
What about you, Ryan? What do you think about the Hezekiah Harris look? Because this feels like it's it, right?
For a time
left on the board.
Yeah, that's the thing. Not a ton, but it happens every year. Guys pop up on the board when they watch their senior season high school tape, or you'll circle back around to try to flip some other guys, or you'll have coaching changes at schools, and that'll lead to other guys being on the table. So it does feel very much died down for the time being, but I imagine there'll be a little bit more action when you get into November and December. I think that's just the nature of it. Speaking for myself, now Chase, you're a bigger recruiter guy than I am. At this time last year, I don't think I knew who Isaiah Campbell was, and he ended up being the second highest rated guy, or at least top 50 recruit in Tennessee's class. So to me, it always feels like at least one or two guys kind of in that vein pop up over the course of the season. But yeah, I think Ethan said it, the main thing, and Chase, you've been on top of it saying that, Tristan Givens or Hezekiah Harris were two really important flip targets for Tennessee because they needed an edge rusher, or at least a more high-level edge rusher in this class. So I think that aspect of it is big. And then, also say, Chase, you said back in July sometime you thought this would either be the highest or lowest rated class of Heupel's tenure. And yeah, I think it's going to should be the highest. You never want to count your chickens before they hatch, but should be the highest.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the highest class. This is now locked in stone. There are 8 right now, depending on which recruiting service you look at. And if they flip a running back, because they don't have a running back in this class, or a high-profile tight end in this class down the stretch, they can flirt with getting back in there. But, you just have to be happy with 8. I think that's the 5th best in the SEC. It's a really good class. This is a strong one. Headline, obviously, by Tristan Key's flip. You got Faison. You got a whole heck of a lot. You got Osenda. You got a whole lot of talent in this class. You get Sleacy Moa, which is going to get lost in it. You get Kamari Blair. You get so many dudes. Daron Elber. You can just go up and down the list. Like this
Legend
class is loaded.
Crazy athlete.
Yeah. But Hezekiah was someone they sneaky needed, I think, in this class, because you need a big time Leo every class in the SEC, and Chop has to keep getting those. And because you just don't know who's going to be here, who's going to transfer, whatever, you have to keep stacking those guys. And weirdly, Tennessee did not have a big time blue chip Leo at this point, and now they got one. So now you have options. You have the big namer in Hezekiah Harris, and you got the projection guys in CJ Edwards and what's his name, Kendrick Golston, the second, the legacy, who's his dad played for Rodney Garner at Georgia and also played in the NFL for a long time. So we'll see how that works out. But that's where you want to be. You have multiple guys, multiple options in every class to fight for opportunities at Tennessee. But another great addition. Coach Chop, man, never stops. Don't stop the chop is what I always say on this.
They were saying it in Tallahassee on Saturday too.
It's true.
Ryan Schumpert, what can the good folks check out from you and the team at RockyTopInsider.com this week?
Yeah, plenty of stuff. Mostly still fallout from game one, but we'll start turning our attention to ETSU a little bit. ETSU for an FCS team is pretty interesting with a unique quarterback situation. Will Healy, first-year coach, tons of new transfers, and Charlie Browder, who was a Tennessee walk-on, so they're starting tight end. So there's interesting things about ETSU. Now, I don't think any of them are going to matter on Saturday, but that is a team that I'll be very intrigued to see how they do in the Southern Conference this year. So we'll have some stuff on them, but plenty on Tennessee as we finally kind of have just why this podcast is always fun after the first game. We got some stuff to look at and some new intel, and so plenty of stuff coming out of that.
Absolutely. What about you, Ethan Stone, over there at SaturdayDownSouth.com?
Yeah, full steam ahead for our entire team. I've got one coming out tomorrow. It's SEC stars and stats. I'm doing like how in hockey they give out like 3 stars to the best players or like the best just performers in general. I'm doing something kind of on that, and then adding just the top statistical performers of the week from across the SEC. Give a little bit of an interesting snapshot, a little more lighthearted snapshot of the week prior, and then obviously we'll keep going. On Wednesday, I got a news desk shift, and then we'll have full previews for all SEC teams, Big Ten teams heading into week 2.
I love it. Ethan Stone, Ryan Schumpert, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to y'all next week.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.